Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence, Crawford, and Canelo. The more we look at this, the more we're going to have different opinions. The more we can see things going one way for Canelo to win, the more we can see things going another way for Terence Crawford to win. But one thing that remains true, and I think most of us agree, is that if Canelo lands on Crawford, Crawford's going to be in trouble. However, the thing is this. I think the focus is on Canelo landing on Crawford's chin, or maybe landing to the body. But really, Crawford cannot afford to take any damage from Canelo. And it seems to be a strategy that Crawford and his team are working on. And I think that's very, very smart for he and his team to ensure the no damage strategy is fully understood, exercised, tried in training and through sparring. So when Crawford gets in the ring with Canelo, he can execute and do his best to win the fight. Now, the thing is this, for you guys who may be saying, what the hell is a no damage strategy, man? This is fighting. Someone's going to get hit. Someone's going to get hurt. Well, in boxing, damage isn't, it's not always visible, man. And that's something I think people need to understand. You see this swelling of the arms, the ache in the ribs, the fog behind the eyes in the 10th round. These are things that we don't see. But as fighters and trainers, they know that it's a different type of damage that the fighter endures, and the fighter knows that he endures in that ring. And when Crawford steps in the ring with Canelo, he's not just facing power, man. In that first round, I mean, the power's going to be there the whole fight. But you guys know what erosion is, right? Slowly but surely, round after round, Crawford is going to be, if he's taking damage that's not visible to us, he is going to just slowly erode away round after round after round. So the no damage strategy is very, very important. It's basically a survival plan, and it's got to be built. Now, this is just my opinion on a couple of things that Crawford does very well. Movement, his discipline, and being precision. Because with a guy like Canelo, the goal isn't just to win. It's to ensure that by round 4, 5, and 6, that you remain whole. W-H-O-L-E. You remain intact. You don't get broken down. You don't get fragmented by Canelo's shots, by his pressure, by the moment. You got to understand Canelo Alvarez and his damage system. He didn't just learn the things that take him to this point in his career after that fight with Floyd Mayweather. It's not just everything he learned from Floyd. No, he learned from every opponent that he faced. In addition, he fought Triple G twice, 3 times. But he spent time up there with Abel Sanchez training and sparring. See, I didn't know that. And in the Abel Sanchez camp, that's where Canelo learned about trying to punch the arms and break down the arms and damage a fighter in a different manner than just going to the chin and going to the body. So that's important. But Canelo Alvarez has a pretty simple system. Target the arms. Now, for those of you saying, if he hits Crawford's arms, Crawford's just going to counter him. He's going to instantly react. Well, maybe. But the reality is this. Crawford is going to need all of his defense in that ring with Canelo. Crawford is not Bivol. Crawford has taken his time coming in the ring after a year of inactivity to fight Canelo, but he's been incrementally putting on size. He's been intelligently sparring with bigger guys. I am sure Crawford's whole squad understand what Canelo does, what he does well, and how he may try to because he may feel it may not be able to land cleanly on Crawford's chin, to target those arms to bring that guard down. If he can weaken Crawford's guard, Crawford could be in trouble. Attacking the body is something Canelo's known for. It's another part of the Canelo damage strategy. If he can weaken your body, just like he can beat you on your arms and bring your guard down and expose your chin, if he weakens your body, then he can slow you down, slow down your footwork. He weakens your legs. If he can successfully implement those two things where he slows Crawford down by going to the body, brings the arms down, bring the guard down by beating his arms, well, then it's time to go to the chin and end the night. Buenas noches. Viva Mexico, cabrones. Crawford and his team know this. If I can go out here and do research and put together bullet point paper, talking points, I am sure them guys are much smarter than me. And they put together something way more advanced than the shit I'm talking about. But if you really think about what I just shared with you, that is Canelo's system. Bring the arms down, slow the feet down, and then really go to work. And I just think Crawford and his team had to be careful because against Caleb Smith, Canelo was able to be successful with attacking the arms, but he battered the biceps until Smith couldn't jab anymore. And Caleb Smith has one of the best jabs, not just in boxing, out of his brothers. But Canelo was able to beat the arms up, man, against Billy Joe Saunders. We all saw what happened there. He broke his face. But it was just an uppercut that got there, a single uppercut against Caleb Plant. He wore him down as well. And the same system. And, Caleb Plant's legs just couldn't continue anymore. So here it is, 3 different opponents where Canelo used his damage strategy. And some aspects of his strategy worked very well against all 3 of those opponents. Nonetheless, the outcome was the same, a Canelo victory. And he destroyed all 3 of those guys. Now, for those who are saying, Crawford's just going to have him, running in circles and Canelo's feet have to be set to land, I agree with that. I can see that. I also feel that Terence Crawford isn't going to, he's not just going to linger around too long to where Canelo can hit him with hard shots, but that may be what Canelo has to do to get Crawford to kind of, involuntarily linger around after he gets his shots up. Because if you hit Terence Crawford, he's going to want to fight you back. Especially if he's like, I see what this guy's trying to do. Crawford cannot afford to just go round after round if Canelo's successfully cutting the ring off and beating him on the arms and stuff. Like, Crawford's going to have to get the hell up out of there. Even if he has his legs, the last thing he needs is where he can't use his arms. He can't get his guard up. Because one thing about Canelo, even though I think if Crawford moves a lot and he's touching Canelo and Canelo can get impatient because he's not catching up to Crawford, and maybe Canelo gets reckless, starts free swinging, that's how I describe it. But one thing for sure is no matter how much of a free swinger Canelo can become, impatient he can become if he feels he's down 4 or 5 rounds, his power is not reckless. His power is calculated. Even when he starts free swinging, he still knows the type of shots he's throwing and what he's trying to do. He doesn't go in there and turn into an Amir Khan kind of fighter, an amateurish, start throwing a bunch of arm punches, just looking crazy. No, he stays calculated. So I just think Crawford needs to understand and learn from what Erislandy Lara said, what Bivol said, what Abel Sanchez said about Canelo picking up these little secrets about arm punches. Lara once said, he said, don't let Canelo beat you on the arms. he threw this out there for any and everyone who's going to be an opponent to Canelo. This was Erislandy Lara said this. Don't let Canelo beat you up on the arms. This is not advice. He said this is a warning. So what that means is a guy like Erislandy Lara, as much success that many people feel he had against Canelo, maybe he could have been more successful if Canelo wasn't beating up his arms the way he did. And that's a very interesting point. The damage that was happening in that ring to Erislandy Lara that we didn't see or understand because we couldn't feel what he was going through. But he came out and said that shit was real. And I think that's to be commended. And I don't think many people even understand or realize what Erislandy was suggesting. What he was suggesting is that shit was like a nightmare being in there with Canelo. And that also explains why he moved so much. Now, Erislandy Lara, outstanding Cuban fighter. I mean, phenomenal boxer. If he had to move like that in his prime against a Canelo, how do you expect a guy like Crawford to get in the ring with Canelo putting the Guadalajaran beans on his arms or wherever, and for Crawford to just hold his ground and fight back? There's something, and even Bivol didn't just stand and hold his ground. He stood, got his shots off, turned Canelo, clinched. He outboxed him and he stayed moving. Even Bivol was talking about that shit. So Crawford, no matter how much pride he has, he's going to have to, maybe he tests the water early in the fight and say, okay, I can handle it. Maybe he's one of the only ones who can handle that shit. But I don't think so. I think he's going to have to be careful. He's going to have to move around. But see, the thing is this. With a guy like Terence Crawford, I know he almost come like a broken record talking about him being able to switch hit. He is a rhythm breaker, okay? Crawford is a rhythm breaker. So if you're doing something well, he can break all that shit up. Whether you like Crawford or not, take a deep breath, blow it out. Get a man his goddamn credit. Just like we're giving Canelo his credit. The same way I tell you I'll give Canelo his credit the way we give Crawford his credit. But I'm telling you, Terence Crawford can be a ghost in that ring, where it's hard to catch up to him. But against Canelo, Crawford needs to be more than just a ghost. He's going to have to be something more. The more I look at this, it's like I always make a joke. I'm going to do 1,000 more videos. Man, because my brain is just going on this shit. Crawford has to show that he really is, truly, a master of lateral movement. I know he can do it. Every boxer can do it. But Crawford has to show that he is, no kidding, maybe better than Usyk with that lateral movement. He's going to have to show, like Bivol, that he's a surgeon of distance to avoid the damage that Canelo's going to be looking to inflict upon him. And when he's inside the pocket, if he ends up in the pocket, look, he may end up in the pocket because Canelo just does a great job cutting the ring off. But he's got to be like I said, he got to be a ghost. He got to be a phantom. That means like, now you see me, now you don't. To where Canelo can't. If he gets a combination off, maybe one land and Crawford gets the hell up out of there. But he can't sit there, especially if Canelo shoots a 4 or 5 punch combination, because Crawford's within distance and he just throws. Crawford can't be there. He's got to be a phantom. Continuing on, right? Staying in front of Canelo is suicide. I want to see if Terence Crawford is really going to try to, like he said, run upside your head to Canelo or walk Canelo down. I want to see that. I know the Terence Crawford fans feel that Terence Crawford can easily walk Canelo down. I know everybody who talks about Crawford. These are other fighters and announcers and stuff, and people who are in those intimate boxing circles. They say, hey, Crawford is not a small guy. Y'all just see him on fight night because he cuts weight, but they say Crawford is not a small guy. He's a big boy. They feel that he has a good chance of being able to stand up and handle Canelo. But what I'll say is, I want to see if Crawford doesn't take it to the stupid and he says, okay, let me, with this newfound size, newfound power, right, newfound confidence, let me still circle, let me still pivot, and let me still reset as often as I need to set traps and then try to impose my size, my power, my will, and go upside Canelo's head, walk Canelo down. I just can't help but think about Floyd Mayweather, right? Since everyone talks about Floyd Mayweather and Canelo. Floyd was a bit older, Canelo was young, in his prime. But you watch Floyd Mayweather, all that experience, all that IQ, all that skill, all that boxing ability. Floyd stood in front of Canelo, not looking for a massive crash-up, looking to make him miss, make him pay. But for the most part, Floyd was never stationary. Even the great Floyd Mayweather, even he knew, I need to box smart. And he saw as the rounds progressed, Floyd started to open up with his offensive arsenal, and he was having a lot of success. He actually Canelo started to become deflated. You could see in his face and his body language. He was just like, this shit ain't fun no more. But you got to always remain elusive. And that's got to be part of Crawford's no damage strategy. Be prepared to be elusive. Because if not, bad things happen. Look, every second Crawford spends in the pocket is an opportunity that Canelo can steal. You know what I'm saying? You can't afford to give up seconds to Canelo. 1 second miscalculated by Terence Crawford can be and probably will be catastrophic, because you're going to give Canelo an opportunity to put the Guadalajara and Jalisco bing-bings on you. So, what's the game plan? Everybody thinks they know what Crawford should do. But what I'm telling you is, I just think for Crawford, jab, those long arms, pivot, feints, got to use those feints. Upper body feints, lower body feints, slide, you know what I'm saying? And if he gets Canelo to react, what I call taking the bait, set the hook on his ass and touch him up. And one thing for sure, you can't give Canelo a stationary target. And this is what Canelo wants. That's why Canelo's going to sit there and try to bring the arms down, try to slow you down by going to the body, and then go to your chin. Because if Canelo gets a stationary target, if it's just for 1 second, it's 1 second too long. Canelo, we saw he can strike like a goddamn viper. Saw he hit Berlanga. That shit came out of nowhere. If he hits Crawford like that, I don't know if Crawford stands up to that. So very, very interesting matchup. Some people don't agree with this, but the reality is, clinching is part of boxing. And I know some people think, clinching's for cowards. If you clinch, you're scared. If Crawford clinches, he's scared. Oh, this is horrible. What would you rather have Crawford do? Clinch intelligently to break up and disrupt Canelo's rhythm, or run like Jermell Charlo? This is boxing. We don't want to see a boxer running, right? So get in their fight, hold him clinched, and then you reset him and reset yourself. Because clinching is necessary. And you're going to have to, like I said, break Canelo's rhythm. And clinching can help Crawford especially to avoid taking that damage and those body shots. And again, the referee will start getting involved. And that's going to be critical too. The damn referee, please don't give them Harvey Doc. But if the referee comes out there and he's like, okay, break, and then he resets the whole exchange and Crawford gets some space, and he can go back to downloading data and getting back to work. And the clinching and the resetting, that shit does not benefit Canelo. I'll tell you that right now. That benefits Crawford. But after every combination, in my opinion, you watch how Floyd and some of these other fighters fight, they'll tie you up. Or they'll tie you up and then punch on the brake before the referee, comes over there. You'll see smart ones do very intelligent things. But Canelo is nefarious. So if Canelo feels you be in a kind of way, Canelo's ass will fight fire with fire. You get dirty, he'll get dirty. That's one thing about Canelo, man. He's a firecracker, isn't he? But I want to see how it goes. Who's going to use shoulder control? Who's going to use head positioning? That's one thing that's very important. You watch Regis Prograis. He always keeps his right hand down. But even in the clinch, he doesn't tuck his chin. He doesn't position his head properly. He doesn't know. He's just there standing straight up and down like a goddamn mannequin. And that's why Catterall and Jojo Diaz had so much success getting the shots off. Crawford is too smart. He tucks his chin. He knows where to place his head. I just wonder about the shoulder checks from Canelo to Terence Crawford. Well, all of a sudden now Terence Crawford getting up with his nose broken or bleeding or his lips bleeding or his face cut from a shoulder check. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. Because Canelo's going to want to get his rhythm going. And Crawford and his team knows that he hasn't interrupted. So it's not dirty fighting. It's just, smart fighting and two guys who, like I say, are trying to find a way to win and not lose at all. So protecting the chin is something that Crawford is going to have to do, not just in clinches, but when he's in the center of the ring and he's fighting with Canelo. Canelo's knockouts come from timing; they don't come from wild swings. So Canelo will sit there and watch you and watch what you're doing. And if Crawford, for some reason, he likes to drop his hands too, and Canelo will time you. And next thing you know, it's night-night. And I hope. This is one thing I know. If you're fighting hard in sparring, right, that's the difficult, let me say, the hardest part of a fight is the preparation. But I hope Crawford, his chin is being tested during training camp and during sparring sessions and by 168 pounders. But this is the thing. You don't want Crawford to get hit so much to where his punch resistance is affected. This is something else. Like, I'm giving y'all so much shit. This is like about 5 videos, but I'm just giving it all to y'all at once, right? Because it's what's on my mind. If Crawford is fighting big guys in sparring and they're landing hard shots, when he gets in there with Canelo, if he's taking many hard shots where it's affected his punch resistance, when he gets in there with Canelo, it may only take 1 or 2 clean shots, perfectly timed shots, for Canelo to get some torque on it and knock Crawford out cold. And then you may hear down the line what some people are going to say is an excuse that, well, it was just the sparring and hard sparring and he took a little more damage than what we were expecting. But again, hopefully if there is some sparring, they're very smart about what they're doing, which the team is brilliant. But I just think Crawford needs to tuck that chin and protect it like a crown jewel. I know they have tennis ball drills. You tuck the tennis ball under your chin, shadow box without letting it drop. It builds posture discipline because now you always like this. You break up that habit of lifting your head up. He needs to definitely do like Canelo, add neck strengthening. Canelo's always strengthening his neck. That's why it's hard to knock him out. The resistance bands, isometric holds, even some of those weights. And Mike Tyson was another one. So if Crawford over the last year has been working on all of that, I mean, those are all good things. But a strong neck, for those of you who are wondering, well, damn, why would he do that? And he just runs the risk of injuring himself even more. Well, the reality is a strong neck absorbs shock, okay? And a tucked chin avoids it. Okay, so strong neck, tucking the chin, doing these exercises, doing the tennis ball drills. Those are things that Crawford should be doing, man, and should be part of his no damage strategy. So when he gets in the ring, he can effortlessly perform. Let me say that properly. Effortlessly. Start talking fast and sound like you got peanut butter in your goddamn mouth. But he can effortlessly perform and stick to the game plan. And round after round, put rounds in the bank and win the fight. But I'm telling you right now, Crawford can't lift his head in exchanges. Like that's the one thing. I'm just looking because one clean one clean shot from Canelo could change everything, but I'm just watching Crawford, and he doesn't have many bad habits. But if he fights with his eyes, he's always watching. He's always watching. But he's never down like this the whole fight. Sometimes he comes up. But boy, he's got to keep that chin tucked. He really does. But you know what? I think there needs to be a balanced focus between his chin, his body, and body. I'm also including the arms. You see, if Canelo recognizes I can't get to his chin, then you got where Canelo may just say, you know what, I'm going to go for the arms. You see, for us, we're not in the ring. So the arm damage isn't visible to guys like us guys and girls who are at home, people who maybe even be at the fight. They may hear the shots, be like, that shit hurt, but you can't see it. But the fighters in the ring, one person's going to show that it's affecting them, the other person's going to recognize that it's affecting them. And that's going to make a big difference in the fight. When your biceps swell, when your jab dies, when your forearms ache, your guard is going to drop. Canelo will target those arms almost in a way to disarm you from your two deadly weapons. So Crawford's going to have to contort himself, twist, rotate his guard. He's going to have to be a step ahead of Canelo to preclude any of this shit from happening. And if he's going to do that, look, he's going to have to do a lot of catch and return drills, defensive shell mobility, and he's going to have to condition his arms for impact. I don't know if they'll go get that stick like Manny Pacquiao, beating himself in the belly with that stick. That shit looks like it hurts. I don't know how you condition the arms. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know, but I am familiar with catch and return drills and defensive shell mobility, but how do you condition the arms? Like, I honestly don't know. But maybe ice baths, maybe that can help condition the arms for impact. I know when I just came from the VA the other day, and they gave me some compression sleeves and shit. So maybe that helps. You know, I don't know. But the arms are both a weapon and a shield. And if you don't have your arms as a weapon to get your offense off and try to break down your opponent, and if you don't have your arms as a shield, well, now your defense is gone. And if that shit goes, if your arms go, the fight goes. And that's just as real as I can be about Terence Crawford and the no damage strategy and what Canelo's trying to do to damage him. But before I get out of here, I just want to talk a little bit about Canelo, his body shots. You ever see termites in a piece of wood and they just, and then what happens to the wood? It just starts to break down. That's what Canelo's body shots are. That's what body shots are, period. That shit is not fun. Anyone who's boxed before, I've never met anyone who boxed and said they never been hit with a body shot. Even if you're just sparring, you didn't have to have an amateur career, a professional career. If you've just been in a box, some people just go to boxing gyms to train and spar. But if you haven't been in there, I'm sure your ass been hit with a body shot. That shit is not fun. The one body shot may not knock the house down, kind of like those termites, but they will hollow that shit out, won't they? So Crawford's got to tuck those elbows. But then again, you know, you got Canelo going to be shooting them shots to his arms. But hey, he got to figure out a way to absorb them shots, right? He got to roll with the hooks, and he's got to make sure he's breathing correctly, staying calm. You got to be cool under pressure, cool under fire. I didn't realize that when you're boxing, if someone lands a shot, that's when you exhale. You don't get hit and inhale. So when someone is landing, you exhale on impact. That trains the diaphragm. I didn't even know that shit. So use a body pad sparring to simulate pressure. And I've seen, they don't show a lot of clips of Crawford in training camp. He has a couple of videos. He got a YouTube channel. They don't show a whole lot, but I'm pretty sure they're doing a lot of this stuff because they understand that the body is the foundation. And if Crawford lets Canelo chip away at it, the collapse of that house, which is his body, that's being hollowed out by those body shots, which are the termites, that shit's gonna collapse. And that's just not something that a guy like Terence Crawford can afford to let happen. The no damage strategy has to be bulletproof because Canelo is firing Guadalajara, Jalisco hollow points up in there. Anyway, Crawford got to stay sharp. Canelo got to stay sharp. If Crawford reaches round 12, a lot of people don't think he can. A lot of people, then there's some who think that he can get there. That means he's done something historic. You know what I'm saying? And that means the no damage strategy that's being concocted by the Crawford squad, Bomac and the boys. That means that it worked. He was able to avoid the breakdown, but we all know survival isn't enough. He's got to win. You can't come in there and be a boxer runner. You go the distance, but then you lose, and people are going to say he was another Jermell Charlo, which Crawford actually mocked and laughed at Jermell Charlo for how he performed against Canelo. So Crawford can't afford to end up in that same position because Jermell's already saying Crawford's going to see that shit's different. Most boxing experts are saying Crawford's going to see that shit's different. There are a lot of people picking Crawford to win if he fights the perfect fight. You understand? He's got to be perfect the whole 36 minutes. Canelo's only got to be perfect for that 1 second where Crawford has a lapse in his judgment, his decision-making, his defense. And then the fight's over. I just really want to see if Crawford, that whole thing about damage avoidance, I'll say that if he can avoid damage, this is a fact. Any fighter, if you're in the ring and you can avoid damage, your mind stays clear. Your mind stays sharp. If you get hit hard and you start taking damage, your mind starts racing. There's a set of panic and anxiety that sets in. I am telling you, not just from watching boxing, I'm telling you from experience. The same shit happens when you get tired and this person is just on you. And now your fucking legs are shaking, your body's shaking. You're breathing, you're getting up, your legs are weak, and then now everything starts to shut down. That's from fatigue. I've been there. I'm telling you from experience how that shit feels. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna get into them stories, but what I'll tell you is the worst thing in the world is to get in there in a ring with someone. I don't care if you're sparring or in a fight, and they're more conditioned than you, and you having success first couple rounds, and then that fatigue sets in, and your legs and shit go. Let me tell you, when that fatigue sets in, your legs go, your arms drop down, and this person's coming at you, then your mind starts going, then you start grabbing and clinching, and then you're all over the place. So damage avoidance is critical to keep the mind clear and keep the mind sharp. That helps you to keep your legs moving, and it helps you to keep the counters coming. And Crawford's going to need his legs, he's going to need his arms to counter. So this isn't just a fight. It's going to be a chess match, but this is going to be a chess match with a whole lot of pain. And Crawford's got to have to be able to absorb that or avoid as much as he possibly can. And to me, to beat Canelo, Crawford got to do what, few have done. He's going to have to find a way to not allow Canelo to hollow him out, to fragment him. Crawford's got to stay whole. He got to stay complete, a complete unit. How he entered the ring, he needs to stay like that during the fight and exit the ring that way. Because I'm telling you, against a destroyer like Canelo, survival is the first victory. You know what I'm saying? You can survive each round, get your shots off, avoid a lot of damage, and just put rounds in the bank, Crawford will win. And at the end of the day, if he can do that, which I think is a big if, victory is going to be the final reward. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. The no damage strategy, the damage strategy, those are the 2 things that, one, Crawford's going to try to implement the no damage strategy. Canelo's going to be trying to implement the damage strategy. targeting the arms, targeting the body, bringing on the arms, slowing down the legs, then going after the chin. Crawford has to be prepared to not allow that shit to happen. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Got more videos coming tomorrow when my boys in school. I'm about to go upstairs. My little man's sleeping. Well, all 4 of my sons are sleeping. So I'm going to go and chill right now. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Consider becoming a member to the channel. It's just much easier for me, man. I'd really appreciate it. Everyone says they love my content, but I don't have many members. Nobody gives super thanks and all that shit. Hey, I just appreciate y'all watching the videos and leaving comments and being part of the community. But, if $3, $4 a month doesn't bother you, man, hey, become a member to the channel. Y'all keep cool. In the breeze.